I used to believe love was a kind of armor, that if you gave your whole heart sincerely, it would be safe in the hands of the person you trusted most. That was the fairy tale I wrote for myself when I married a DIL. We met in college. He wasn't the loudest or the most charming, but there was something solid about him. He listened. He made you feel like the only person in the room. I fell for that presence, or maybe the version of him he wanted me to see. 2 years after graduation, he proposed. I said yes without a doubt. The early years of our marriage were simple and warm. We didn't chase luxury. We built slowly, supporting each other through job changes, long days, uncertain plans. When I lost my job, he told me to rest, to heal, and I did. I started a boutique online. It grew. Life felt good. But slowly, something shifted. A deal began disappearing behind his phone. It's office work, he said. Then came late nights, weekend absences. He needed space, something he never used to ask for. When I gently asked if everything was okay, he kept his voice calm, just work stress. I wanted to believe him. Then came the locked phone, private calls, short fuses. He stopped looking at me, stopped listening. When I brought up kids or the future, he changed the subject, got irritated. Still, I gave him grace. Maybe too much. Then came the day everything cracked. I was folding laundry in our room. His phone buzzed. I wasn't trying to look, but a message preview lit up the screen. Just one line. Last night was perfect. Same time tomorrow. My stomach sank. His passcode. It's birthday. As if hiding it didn't matter anymore. What I found wasn't a single slip. It was a second life. Messages, photos, plans. Her name was Zara. Flirty texts, sweet nothings, hotel bookings in Murray. It's the same tone he once used with me. It's now directed at someone else. But it wasn't just the affair. It was the lies. The messages where he said I was cold, that our marriage was dead, that I didn't understand him. He rewrote our story to excuse his betrayal. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I sat still, let it hollow me out. That evening, I greeted him with the usual hello. He nodded, distracted, and headed to the shower. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was lethal. That night, I lay beside him while he slept, like nothing had changed. And I realized the betrayal wasn't what hurt the most. It was how easily he lived with it. Without guilt, without shame. So I made a choice. I would not fall apart. I would dismantle him piece by piece. Quietly, the next morning, I packed his lunch, kissed his cheek. Then I started collecting screenshots, emails, backups. I emailed everything to myself, printed hard copies, stored them in a folder under the bed. I tracked patterns, names, timelines. Zara worked at a firm his company partnered with. They met at a conference 8 months ago. He told her he was unhappy, that I didn't support him, that we were just roommates. Meanwhile, I reached out to a lawyer, updated my business ownership, transferred half our savings into an account with only my name. And I waited. I became the perfect wife again. Asked about his work, cooked his favorite meals. He was relaxed, comfortable, convinced I knew nothing. Then I told him I had a 2-day business seminar out of town. He barely looked up from his phone. "Good for you," he said. I left the next morning, suitcase in hand, not to a seminar, but to my friend's house nearby. From there, I had installed a discreet camera on the bookshelf in our bedroom a week earlier. That night, he brought her home. She knew where the wine glasses were. She laughed like she belonged. He poured her a drink in the home we built together. On the couch we chose together. The next morning, I returned before he did. I deleted the footage, but not before backing it up to a secure cloud drive. Then came the final piece. I contacted Zara, at first anonymously, posing as a coworker. I left breadcrumbs. Then I messaged her from my real number. "You deserve the truth." Ask him why he lied about being single. She never replied. But that night, a deal came home livid. Accused me of ruining his life, spying, of betrayal. I blinked at him with innocent eyes. "Is everything okay? You seem upset." He stormed into the guest room, slammed the door, and I smiled, because the unraveling had begun. And he had no idea what was coming next. I was holding the thread now. I wasn't just preparing to leave him, he was preparing to ruin the image he had built, the one where he was the victim in his fantasy, and I was the cold-hearted wife. I wouldn't just walk away. I would write the story. It's the real one, and let world see who he truly was. Revenge is a dish best served with patience, and I had plenty of it. I was done being the quiet wife who waited for apologies that never came. I wasn't going to scream or cry or beg. I was going to burn the mask he wore piece by piece, and let him watch it turn to ash. Not yet, but soon. Very soon. Every day I smiled in his presence was another strike of the matcha deal thought. I was fragile, that I'd break if the truth came crashing down, but he didn't realize I had already broken the day I found those message. What was left of me wasn't weak, it was steel, cold, sharpened, deliberate. He was no sleeping in the guest room. Morphed in, I told him. I understood that maybe you both needed space to figure ourselves out. He called it maturity. I called it manipulation. He still believed he had control. He didn't, while he spent his nights texting her and blaming stress for his absence. I was building my case both emotionally and legally. I had learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt, it teaches. It opens your eyes to theft and print of love, to the things you endure when your heart is Filoni afternoon. I contacted Zara direct lino. Gains this time I used my real number, sent a simple message. "I'm not Adil's wife and I'm not here to fight, I just want to talk." She didn't reply immediately, but by nightfall she called. Her voice was cautious, guarded, a bit shaky. "What do you want?" "Just to tell you Thestry." He didn't. She listened, mostly insolence. I didn't scream, didn't accuse. I walked her through the timeline, how long we'd been married, the things he'd said about her, the messages, the lies, the nights he claimed to be working late but was with her instead. She was quiet for a long time before she whispered. "He told me was separated, that you were cold, that he was staying just until the divorce went through." I laughed bitterly. Classic. Then something surprising happened. She apologized. Sincerely, she said she really didn't know that she felt sick, that she never meant to hurt anyone. Not didn't blame her, not entirely. She was a grown woman, sure, but she was only seeing what he showed her, and Adil Wavri, good at illusions. He was the magician, and I had been his loyal audience for years. Clapping along Tovri trick, "I'll end it," she said. "Yeah, want have to," I replied, "because I'm mending it for both of use." That same week, I filed for divorce quietly through a lawyer who knew how to keep things sealed until necessary. I had gathered bank statements, insurance, Adele's phone records, every thread hetried to keep hidden. I pulled out into the light, but I didn't just want to leave him. I wanted him exposed, not destroyed. No, I didn't want to become what he was, but I wanted the truth to follow him like a shadow. So I made Applin. I invited his parents over for dinner. He was surprised, but pleased. "Mabe, you're finally starting to accept things," he said with a smug grin. I wanted to laugh, if only he knew what I had prepared. The evening was calm, pleasant. Even his parents asked the usual questions. I played along. We ate together, smiled. His mother even said, "You've matured so much, Beta. We're so proud." When dessert came, I told them I had something to share, a little project I had been working on. A deal raised an eyebrow. I brought out a binder, the kiwi, and placed it in the center of the table. Then wordlessly, I began reading from it. It was a script of sorts, page, soft messages, dates, photos, details, every late night, every moment, he thought. No one saw. His mother gasped. His father turned red. Adil stood up for Sapali. "What are you doing?" he hissed, showing them the truth. I said, "You once told Zara that I was emotionally dead, thought I was manipulative, that I was holding you hostage in this Marioge." Turned to his parents. "Do I seem like that to you?" His mother covered her mouth. His father said nothing. He tried to grab binder. I held it tight. "Sit down," I said coldly. "You owe them this much." When refuse I slammed the binder shut and calmly said, "Then you can leave. You'll be getting the official papers next week." He stood there for a long moment, stormed out, slamming the door band. I turned to his parents. "I'm not asking for pity. I just wanted you to talk now the truth before you hear his version of it." His mother nodded, tears in her eyes. His father simply said, "You didn't deserve this." I did it, but I wasn't done in the following weeks. I made sure to unravel every thread of illusion he had spun the boutique. I had successfully removed his name from every association, the savings I kept, the portion I had contributed and left. Him's rest, I wanted no accusations. Greed, only justice. The lawyer drafted a clean, precise divorce filing. I requested no alimony, no favors only. What was fair? Then came the final move. I wrote a public post. Not angry, not emotional, just honest. I shared my story, anonymous lander, a blog I had quietly built, one where women told their stories raw and unfiltered. I didn't name him, but Thasuhu knew us, would understand, and slowly thought post spread. People started asking questions, whispering truths. His image of faithful, hardworking husband began to crack. One of his colleagues, Emma, let him weeks later, just wanted to say, "We always wondered why he changed so much." No, it makes sense. I didn't reply. I'd need to. Zara, to her credit, sent one final message. "I left the company. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you find peace." I did. Peace wasn't loud. It wasn't a victory parade or a dramatic confrontation. It was silence. It was waking up in my own bed without anxiety. It was standing in the mirror and seeing Samion. I recognized someone strong. Adil tried to contact me several times, texts, calls, even a letter. I never responded. He had burned the bridge, thinking I'd stay on the other side forever. He never imagined I'd build a new road without him. Now I was free, but there was still one more chapter. Tore it not for revenge, but for closure back, 'cause the final lesson I wanted him to learn was that betrayal doesn't make you powerful. It makes you forgettable. And I was going to make sure he remembered that silence, the kind of silence that screams. 6 months passed. In that time, it transformed in ways I hadn't thought possible. I wasn't just healing, I was becoming. I went from a woman who second-guessed every choice to someone new who stood tall in every decision. I took long walks alone, enjoyed my own silence, and realized that peace wasn't something you found. It was something you built, brick by brick. But even peace has a Casey would occasionally hear things from friends, from distant acquaintances. Abutho, Adil was struggling at work. Abutho, he seemed off, not quite himself. He had become quieter, isolated. The golden boy who used to be everyone's favorite, no war, the invisible weight of buying exposed. No one openly shamed him. That wasn't necessary. People simply knew, and knowing was enough. I hadn't intended to ruin him. I hadn't gone to his employer, published a dramatic takedown. But truth has a way of traveling, even when you whisper it. His world shrunk, not Bacchus. I chased him, but because he was finally standing in the wreckage, created, sent one final letter. Handwritten, it arrived on a rainy Tuesday. It wasn't an apology, not really. It was a mix of great denial and, oddly enough, Longinji miss us. He wrote, "I made mistakes, but Wa had something real. I don't know how to fix it, but if there's ever a chance, I'd like to talk." I read it once, then again, then I folded it neatly and placed it in the shredder. Without a word, that was my closure. You see, revenge isn't always fire and fury. Sometimes it's just a woman choosing not to answer, not to look back, not to acknowledge. The man woathed. She'd always be waiting. I threw myself into my work with fresh passion. Me boutique expanded. I hired a small team. We launched a new campaign that went viral. Ironically, it was Centura Darrand Resilience. That tagline read, "Rebuild yourself." And this time, build stronger. Wham, from all walks of life. Messaged Methy, didn't know my story, not really, but felt the energy. Something about the campaign struck a chord, and maybe that was enough. I started hosting meets for women entrepreneurs. We shared ideas or sources of support. No one talked about cheating husbands or heartbreak, but we carried scars and together learned how to wear them with pride. Then one evening, I saw him again. I was at a cafe downtown meeting a supplier. As he walked out, I saw a deal across the street alone, leaning against his car, he looked thinner, tired. His eyes caught me for a moment. I paused. He gave Asmel wave, hesitant, unsure. I nodded on, said nothing more. Then I turned and walked away. I didn't need words. I didn't need explanations. He had already received the most powerful message of all. A life that moved on without him. Later that night, as I sat with my tea watching the city lights flicker outside of my apartment window, I realized something. Grabbing wasn't about hurting him. It was about taking back the parts of me had tried to erase. It was about showing myself that I could stand alone, not in spite of his betrayal, but because of it. My story wasn't about him anymore. It was about me, and I was finally the author of my own ending, not broken, not bitter, just free. And that was enough. Thanks for watching. Bye.